There's no other way to put this. There are record levels of poverty in the United States today despite record high stock prices. So what gives? You came here for the truth, so let me unveil that for you. I have a very quick video for you today. Let's get right into it. This is from the Census Department in the US, income and poverty in the United States for 2016. You will be shocked by these numbers when you see that there are, in fact, 41 million people who officially live in poverty. And that's the Census Department of the government telling you this. Of those, 9 million have zero cash income. They do not receive a cent in sustenance. We're talking about supposedly the number one economy in the world. This developed nation, which has 41 million people in poverty. That is shocking to see these figures. And then keep in mind, I've covered these other statistics before, that these are actually skewed because there are many people who are unable to make ends meet, but they technically don't fall beneath the poverty line and therefore don't show up on the numbers. Now that would give you an even worse picture. There are so many people who can't pay their rent, who can't pay their bills, and yet they're technically not poor. But it shouldn't be like that. But even when you take the fake numbers, 41 million people, to me, that's pretty serious. And this is what I like to talk about all the time. Despite great wealth in the US, there also exists great poverty and inequality. And the majority of people, they're just, if they're lucky, they're just going by, just barely able to make ends meet. But the top few percent, they're doing better than ever before. And as I always talk about, there's a chasm forming in between the two. It's been getting worse for decades, but as of late, it's really been taken off. And you can't find a way around this using the methods that they've provided for us, whether it's Social Security and all these retirement accounts and everything else. There needs to be another way. Thanksgiving help for the homeless. We haven't seen numbers like this since the Great Depression. And this is what I talk about, that anecdotal evidence. When you can show the numbers, 41 million, and that is very staggering. But think about the people that are really engaged. Take what they have to say, piece it all together, and form your own opinion. This neighborhood in New York City's Queens, talking about the fact that they changed this local hotel into a 110-bed homeless shelter. A place like New York, where we see homes selling for tens of millions of dollars on a fairly regular basis. At the same time, you have people on the streets, a lot of people on the streets. You see, when I visited there before, you see a beautiful skyscraper, and directly next door, you see, 10 homeless people right on the street in front of it. You see abandoned buildings right beside it. There's this real, sort of two-faced thing that's happening there. They're very rich people, very poor people, and that middle class is generally evaporating. Then you have this, 30 American ghost towns. So very quickly, in the wake of the ongoing housing recovery, a new problem has arisen, a shortage of homes for sale. We hear about that all the time, right? Shortage of homes. But while this might be a problem in most of the country's stable housing markets, some neighborhoods and cities suffer from a completely different problem. Too many vacant homes. There are nearly 1.4 million vacant properties across the country. And in fact, I think that number is actually a lot worse, probably about, anywhere between 3 and 10 times worse than that, based on what I've seen statistically previously with the financial crisis and onward. A lot of these can be hidden, of course. And it doesn't matter, though. There are millions of homes sitting vacant, sitting empty, while at the same time you have places that people have to live in literal holes in the wall to be able to afford their rent, to be able to not be homeless. That's not a good sign, okay? When you have this basically evaporation of the middle class, a lot of people in poverty. At the same time, you have the rich getting richer. And we're not talking about the rich making $200,000 a year. We're talking about the rich making millions and millions, the CEOs, the top, let's say 10% or higher, maybe the top 1% or maybe the top 0.01%. It doesn't really matter. The people at the top get more and more. The people at the bottom get nothing. That's the way it works. That's the way it's always been. But in fact, it's getting worse as time goes on. I covered it here often. Just want to show you some statistics, particularly at this time of year. I think it is something to think about. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. Last but not least, if you found the video informative, I know you will find my books, The Money GPS, and my newer release, Global Economic Collapse, even more informative. You can flip through these books. If you go over to Amazon, they have a look inside feature. It's going to allow you to flip through the pages of these books to see if you like them. Take care.